impeachment. After brutal new footage is released of the deadly Capitol riots,
we came close to half of the House nearly dying.
The movement to impeach the president is in the House again.
This president is guilty of inciting insurrection. Oh, he has to pay a price for that.
Will the vice president respond to calls to invoke the 25th Amendment to remove him immediately? Or does he fear retribution from Trump's most militant supporters? And would fast-tracking impeachment hearings derail President-elect Biden's first days in office? Plus, the greatest Jeopardy contestant of all time, Ken Jennings, is live to talk about joining Sarah in the chase and how he plans to pay tribute to Alex Trebek when he steps in as Jeopardy guest host. And a brand new View Your Deal. Here come Hot Topics with Whoopi, Sarah Haynes, Joy Behar, Sunny Austin, and Meghan McCain. Now, let's get things started.
Well, hello and welcome to The View. As America still tries to process the attempted insurrection at the Capitol, Wednesday Speaker Nancy Pelosi told 60 Minutes that the domestic terrorists who did it were given their marching orders and motivated to commit violence. Take a look.
I like the 25th Amendment because it gets rid of him. He's out of office. But there is strong support in the Congress for impeaching the president a second time. This president is guilty of inciting insurrection. He has to pay a price for that.
I mean, okay, so we keep saying he should pay a price, but what price should he pay? Now, House Majority Whip James Clyburn thinks that Congress should wait until after Biden's first 100 days to start impeachment hearings. I kind of think that's a good idea, but what do you think, Joy?
I don't agree with that because I think that something has to be done immediately. It must be demonstrated that if you incite violence against the United States government, you have to have some kind of a removal. You have to be removed in some way. Now, Mike Pence will not invoke the 25th Amendment, although he's being very cagey about it right now. I doubt that he will do that. You know that Trump is never going to quit. So the Democrats have to do it. And I think that, if we wait, like Clyburn says, the Republicans will say he's gone, let's move on, or kumbaya and everything. All the people that brought us to this point are saying let's move on. If you remember, when there is a mass shooting in this country and kids die at schools, etc., people say, oh, we can't talk about gun control right in the middle of this. And then time passes, and then they forget about it. And then there's another mass shooting. I would put that in this category in a certain way. You say,
Right.
so I don't think that that it's a bad idea to do it immediately. Joe Biden can handle not having attention on him for a couple of weeks.
All right. I think it's a little more than that, but what do you think, Sarah?
I see it a little differently than Joy, mainly because when you talk about the school shootings, I am excited to watch them catch these people, out them, and punish them as they deserve. All of these domestic terrorists, one by one, being tracked down. I'm all for punishment. And I'm also for punishment for Trump. My thought on it is I don't even know if 100 days is necessary, and I understand the urgency, but I'm also concerned about strategy right here. I do believe he needs to be impeached. Like you said, there's not going to be a resignation. I have no faith in Mike Pence, and I lost that a long time ago. But an impeachment could bar him from future office, which I think we can all get on board with, and that's a bit of an insurance policy. To me, pausing on the punishment is not avoiding it. What I see, though, right now is this virus is still ravaging this nation. The numbers we're hitting, we have help in sight. We have the vaccination, and we're not distributing it well. Right now, all our hopes were pinned on this new administration. They cannot be sidetracked by this. If Congress wants to fight and work on this, so be it. But right now, no one needs to get in the way of Joe Biden or Kamala Harris doing what we wanted them to do. They need to get their cabinet established. We need to be able to hand the reins to them January 20th and let them take off running. So I don't mind if there's a pause, but I do agree there needs to be a punishment.
Right. What do you think needs to happen, Megan?
I disagree with you, Sarah. Look, I'm here in Washington, D.C., and let me tell you, tensions are running really high. People are really, really worried about violence on Inauguration Day. I think they have to send a direct message, Republicans and Democrats, that this cannot stand and there have to be ramifications for what happened. I mean, this is one of the worst domestic terror attacks in our history. I also want to say that conservatives have been calling this out. The Wall Street Journal has called on President Trump to resign. The Western Journal has called out any ideas that Antifa somehow motivated this. I have said this on the show numerous times. Facts are stubborn things. Normally I say it in relationship to Democrats. Now I'm saying it to Republicans. If President Obama had incited this kind of riot where he had lied to his voters, lied about the election, and then sent a mob of people up on Capitol Hill where the vice president could have been killed or worse, I mean, there would be absolute bedlam worse than we're seeing now. So I think the problem I'm having right now, and I'm just speaking to my own party, is that there has to be intellectual consistency in this, because we always go on TV and say that we are the party of law and order. We are the party of the ideals. We are the party of ramifications for people that screw with America. We're going to put a boot in your, you know what, if you screw with the American way. I have said that. So why is it different when it's MAGA supporters? And I think that's where I'm really confused right now, because if we let this stand and we don't have, I'm 100% for impeachment, the 25th Amendment, anything and everything to get him out now, because the existential threat of violence is still here. And maybe it's different that people are in different cities, but I'm telling you, here in Washington, D.C., tensions are running very, very high right now.
Absolutely, and we're going to keep talking about this when we come back.
Ken Jennings on joining in the chase with Sarah and remembering Alex Trebek. Plus, a brand new View Your Deal.
Welcome back. We were talking about the move to impeach you-know-who or remove him using the 25th Amendment for inciting insurrection at the Capitol last week. Getting removed isn't the only consequence he's facing, is it, Sonny?
Well, that's right. And I just want to make it really clear. I think impeachment and conviction and removal from office is really the only thing that can happen here. And this is why. If Trump is forced from office under the 25th Amendment, he can still run for president in 2024. And while many people may say he'd never run for president, no one would vote for him again. 74 million people voted for him this time after his horrific record, after how he miserably handled this pandemic, after all of his misogyny, after all of his racism. They still voted for him. Don't think that they wouldn't vote for him if he ran again in 2024. But if he gets impeached and if he gets convicted and if he gets removed, he cannot run for office again. That is why it is imperative that he gets impeached and convicted and removed from office. The other thing is, if he is removed from office, he also loses his pension of $200,000 a year for life. He also loses travel-related expenses, which is up to $1 million. Imagine taxpayers paying up to $1 million for this ex-president to be able to travel around this country, around the world, and gin up this base the way he ginned them up to storm the Capitol. He would also lose funding for having an office staff, funding for having office space. We need, as a country, to be able to hold him accountable for what he did. And the only way to truly hold him accountable is to impeach him, convict him, and remove him from office.
Hear, hear. Well, as you know, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen by next Thursday. It's just not.
But
so that's why they're saying.
If they were to impeach him later, sorry, Whoopi. If they were to impeach him when he leaves the office, would they take away all those benefits as well?
Yes.
They could. They could still do it. But let's remember.
Yeah.
Let's remember that they were able to put forth a Supreme Court justice within a week. They can still do it. There's nothing in the Constitution that prevents them from impeaching, convicting, and removing for January 20th.
On that note, we should be treating these domestic terrorists.
He's not going to be.
Sorry, I can't. It's hard to.
That's all right.
I just think we need to treat the domestic terrorists the way we do actual terrorists. I think we need to consider all possibilities. I'm not against sending these people to Gitmo, and that may sound extreme. These are domestic terrorists who attacked our own republic. They should be treated the same way we treat Al Qaeda.
I think so, but I'd like to know where the uproar. I'd like to know where the uproar is in Washington. This is being treated like it's just a little kind of thing that kind of happened. These people came to take over the government. Now listen, Mike Pence is not going to make that move. He's not going to do it. So I feel like before we go after, because the other thing to me that is concerning is he going to pardon everybody? Is he going to do a blanket pardon for everybody's behavior here? I mean, because... well, I know he's going to try to pardon himself, but he's got to pardon... Hold on, Joy. He's got to try to figure out, is he going to pardon Giuliani and his kids for inciting from the stage up there? There's a lot that they have to figure out. But the first thing I'd like to know is where is everyone's indignant feeling, how people were indignant that people were saying to the police, hey, defund the police without asking the questions. People saying, are you saying defund the police? These people went and beat the poop out of the police. They beat up the police. So I don't want to hear anymore that the law and order party. They're not the law and order party. This party is out of control because they are fundamentally listening to one person.
I think that these Republicans in Congress who are continuing to say that he won and carrying on like that, they need to understand that these insurgents, these people, whoever they are out to get Republicans too. They are harassing Lindsey Graham, Mitt Romney. They're threatening Mike Pence's life. They need to act in their own interest. Forget about the Democrats.
Yeah. But they won't. I mean, ABC News is exploring how this all happened on a special called 24-Hour Assault on the Capitol. It premieres tonight on Hulu. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Days after who was permanently banned from Twitter, right-wing social media app Parler was taken down, and there's some folks accusing big tech companies of silencing free speech. Now, come on. These companies are privately owned. They have things that they will allow and things they will not allow. And they're not allowing the kind of thing that's been going on for the last, little while of planning insurrections and things like that. They have every right to say, I don't want you using my site. Much like the baker who said, I don't want to bake for gay people. Same thing. Everybody said, listen, he has the right to do that. So do all these companies have the right to say, I don't want you on my stuff. The amendment that people keep throwing out there is kind of crazy. The First Amendment says Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech. Not Twitter shall make no law. Am I crazy? Does this make sense? What do you think, Joy?
Well, I'm a big First Amendment person. We all are, because we make our living based on the First Amendment, and we get away with saying stuff that may be very unpopular. But, it scares me a little bit that these tech companies have so much power to take you off, put you on, and all of that. And maybe the FCC needs to be involved and start regulating these the way they do radio and television, etc. But there's a fundamental difference here. There are caveats in the First Amendment and the Second Amendment. You can't walk around in some states carrying a rifle and walking around the streets open carry. That's against the law, for example. Yelling fire in a crowded theater is against the law because you are inciting pandemonium, possibly violence. And that's where Trump comes under that particular caveat, I believe, because his tweets are they're calling for violence, and that's a clear violation of the terms of conduct. So you could say somebody like Farrakhan is on Twitter, and they haven't taken him off. He's not inciting violence at the moment. He is using hate speech for sure, and others are using hate speech, but they are not saying go ahead and kill Nancy Pelosi. In essence, what is going on? Go ahead and kill Mike Pence. That is why he has to be taken off. So it's not exactly, and what you said is right, Whoopi. It is a private company, and we have caveats in the First Amendment. That's the story.
Yeah. Sarah, what do you think?
I agree with what you said about these companies definitely have the right, but it does raise three concerns for me. So first is something I referred to last week. When we drive people, these extremists, to these fringe media sites, it's kind of like I fear the devil. I can't see more than the one I can. I'm screwing that up, but you know what I mean? Like I'd rather see it in front of me and have access to it, because these mediums have been how the FBI, the NYPD have kind of predicted that some of this could happen. It's also how they're finding some of these domestic terrorists is on social media. Second, I think that when something leaves, it kind of creates a vacuum where something worse can sweep in and take over, kind of like ISIS in the Middle East. Like, I don't know if we move something, it's treating a symptom if we keep pushing these aside. And third, I'm concerned because it's kind of an elusive precedent. When the pendulum and the power switches to the other side, who will they silence? Who's going to play God and decide to, kick someone off? It could work against us eventually. So those are my concerns, although I understand the point Joy's making about hate speech and violence.
All right. Well, we'll talk more about this when we come back. Welcome back. We're talking about accusations that big tech companies are silencing free speech because they banned you-know-who from Twitter and taking down right-wing social media app Parler. What's your feeling on this, Sonny?
Listen, I echo what everyone else has been saying. These are private companies, and so they have every right to do this. The First Amendment really relates to government action and not the action of private companies. But I will say this. What always has troubled me is that we want good corporate citizens, and these companies are protected by Section 230, which means they're really not responsible for things. They're just third-party platforms, so they're not necessarily held accountable for things that people put on their platforms. And it's difficult, right? Because the internet is kind of like the wild, wild west. But I think that they should be more responsible with things that people are putting on the internet. And so they're getting there. They're getting better. And so they started flagging some of the more inflammatory things that President Trump was putting on the internet. I mean, let's face it. He has been using his Twitter account to incite violence. And ultimately, this is what ended up happening. But I do think they have a long way to go in terms of their accountability. But what I was shocked at was you had people like Sarah Huckabee Sanders and Mike Pompeo getting on Twitter and saying, oh my goodness, I lost 50,000 followers. Look at how horrible that is. I saw more outrage from people like that about their losing Twitter followers than what was happening at the Capitol. And I was really disgusted by that show. You're that concerned about your Twitter followers? Come on.
Yeah. Well, what's your feeling on this, Megan?
So this is one of those issues that I just am seeing this through an entirely different prism. I fear censorship. I fear the amount of huge power that big tech has over all of us. Basically, 5 dorks in Silicon Valley are having more power than anyone else in the entire world. The ACLU has come out against this. Twitter is incredibly inconsistent on this issue. The people who do have platforms on Twitter include the Ayatollah Khomeini, the People's Republic of China, Vladimir Putin, Maduro, and Medvedev. I think the best example that I read over the weekend on why this is so dangerous is there's a man named Alexei Navalny who is a total freedom fighter. He's Putin's #1 enemy. He has come out trying to bring freedom and democracy in Russia. He made the point on Twitter, and by the way, he was poisoned by someone from the Kremlin and almost died over the summer. He was in a coma for a few weeks and came out, thank God. But I will say that he made the point that Russia has these bot factories that have not only endangered his health and are calling for his killing all the time, but it almost led to his direct killing. And obviously, we've been discussing on this show for years now about the amount of power Twitter has in influencing our election and just exactly the kind of propaganda that Russia faces by using these mediums. So if Twitter wants to do this, they have to be really consistent because there's a lot of people with a lot of platforms who are still on there. I don't think anyone on this show thinks that the Ayatollah Khomeini calling for the extermination of Jewish people in Western culture should still have this kind of platform. So if they're going to deplatform Trump, they have to be really consistent. And I do think Russia's influence in Silicon Valley is something that is going to be a huge, huge issue going forward. It hasn't evaporated just because Biden is elected president. And I really think we're going to see a lot of antitrust lawsuits and antitrust, congressional hearings on this. And I think Jack Dorsey has completely gone out over his skis on this. And for whatever it's worth, Twitter's stock is absolutely plummeting this morning.
Twitter waited 56,000 tweets before banning. I know. Trump, thank you. I said the 56,000 tweets before they said, hey, maybe there's something we should be talking about here. I, for one, I understand because I watched all these people say, well, hey, that's that's how they feel. It's their company. Well, if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. And you know what? They're going to start throwing all kinds of people off of these platforms. And maybe we can get some kind of understanding of what we're supposed to be doing with all these platforms, because I don't get it anymore. People are inciting insurrection, and it's meandering. I don't see the outrage. I don't see the outrage from anybody. I don't see Ted Cruz freaking out. I mean, I don't understand. They were so angry before, and now it's just like, oh, this happened. Maybe it's just me. We'll be right back.
Next, Ken Jennings talks about joining forces with the Goats of Jeopardy and Sarah in the Chase, and honoring the late, great Alex Trebek when he steps in to guest co-host.
That was Ken Jennings with our own brilliant co-host Sarah on the new game show The Chase. And starting tonight, he's going from legendary Jeopardy contestant to interim host, filling in for the late, great Alex Trebek. Please welcome Ken Jennings. Hey, Ken Jennings, welcome to The View.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Well, we're told that you've always loved game shows and you've been obsessed since you were a little kid. Is this kind of making your stomach go upside down when you start thinking, oh my goodness, I'm hosting Jeopardy?
Yeah, hosting game shows for my mom and dad as a kid by drawing the Family Feud board on my little chalkboard. That was a lot easier than trying to fill in for Alex Trebek, the greatest game show host ever in his space. It's an honor, but it's a really stressful one.
Now, on The Chase, you and fellow Jeopardy goats James Holzhauer and Brad Rutter act as the chasers, trying to stop contestants from winning large sums of cash. Do you guys feel you get to show more of your personalities in this format versus Jeopardy?
Yeah, that was something I realized last year on the Jeopardy Goat Tournament, is that when you're comfortable enough with the show, we could play the game at a very high level and goof around between each other, and it was really kind of fun. James Holzhauer loves doing that kind of mean wrestling blowhard shtick, and he's so good at it. And I thought, hey, this is a really fun way to play a serious trivia show. And The Chase really lets us do that, because we all kind of have to be the bad guys. We're trying to keep these nice contestants from winning money, and it's kind of rough.
The nicest bad guys ever, I must say. But do you have a favorite memory of Alex from your 15-plus year friendship?
There was a great moment in a tournament about 10 years ago where the contestants were nervously talking before the show about, behind these lecterns, we could take off our pants and nobody would know. And Alex must have been listening, because at the top of the show, the music plays, the announcer says, "Host of Jeopardy, Alex Trebek," and he walks out in his boxers. And I don't think I've ever laughed so hard in my life. That really, really cut the tension.
Oh.
That's very funny.
Did you really do that? Oh my God.
Well, Ken, I have to ask you a little uncomfortable question. Over the holidays, you apologized for some insensitive past tweets. What have you learned since then after tweeting that?
I believe that people should always be held accountable for the things that they say. That seems like common sense to me. And, on social media over the years, I feel like I've had a pretty good track record, but there were certainly times when I got a little hot-headed about the events of the day and didn't take a second to cool down before tweeting. Or, I had an off-the-cuff thought that seemed like a funny joke in my head and then looked awful when I saw it on the screen. And, those are easy mistakes to make, but I really regret them, because it's also really easy to just take a second and think through before you put something on the internet for millions of people. And that's kind of how I want to be going forward.
Tweeting is like holding a firecracker sometimes. It really is a scary thing. You have to be careful. I know. So let's talk about this. Jeopardy has broad appeal, I notice. I've been watching it for years and years and years, and it doesn't matter what your political views or demographics are. Everyone just loves Jeopardy. If you like the show, you will love the show, is how I see it. And why do you suppose that is? Most people,
It's one of the things
different, people don't like it for this reason or that reason, not this one. Yeah.
Yeah, Jeopardy has an amazing following in red states. It has an amazing following in blue states. It's like this, it's universally agreed upon place where America comes, like, at the same time every weekday, and questions have answers, and accuracy and truth matters. It's a really amazing thing, and it's a respite from, like, all the day's drama, I think the secret of Jeopardy is that it never changed over the years, so it's still a ritual for people. When you watch it, you're like time traveling. You're remembering watching with your grandma or with your friends at college or whatever it is. You remember better times. And whether America is having a great year or really kind of a tricky, turbulent one, Jeopardy is still Jeopardy. And I'm going to try to honor that as long as I have anything to do with the show.
Now, Ken, it pains me to discuss this, but I experienced a crushing loss on Jeopardy, which to this day I blame on my buzzer. Is there a certain buzzer rhythm that I should know about? Do you have any buzzer tips for me? Should I play the game again? Because there is something to the buzzer thing, isn't there? You get locked out if you press the buzzer before the answer.
Ken, answer the question.
Isn't that
before
true?
she goes off. Go ahead, Ken.
Sonny, I want you to stop living in shame. The buzzer is tricky. I have been there. You can't just buzz whenever you know it. You have to wait for the host to finish reading the clue. And at that point, your buzzer's live. If you buzz in even a tiny bit before that, you get locked out for a fraction of a second. And that's why you see people like Sonny being like, why isn't this working?
Sonny, you are a walking meme. That's all I think of you.
Because I knew all the answers. I knew all the answers before Anna Navarro knew them.
Okay.
But I got locked out.
Well, Sonny, another person that knows a lot of the answers and has the buzzer figured out is Ken Jennings. So since he is the greatest trivia mastermind known to man, we thought we wanted to test your knowledge of all things The View, because I know it's probably an expertise. This is the Chase the View edition. You're going to have 60 seconds to answer 10 View or View host-related questions, but there's no passing, just so you know. It's all right, wrong. So this is a new skill for you. You've got to go with it. Are you ready? Okay, go. Whoopi is one of 16 people to receive all 4 major entertainment awards, referred to by what acronym?
EGOT.
Correct. In 2019, The View was deemed the most important political TV show in America by what publication that holds the record for most Pulitzer Prizes?
The New York Times.
Correct. Joy named her dog after which former presidential candidate and longest-serving independent in Congress?
Bernie Sanders.
Correct. Comedian Michael Ian Black co-authored a 2012 travelogue titled America, You Sexy Bitch with which View co-host?
Meghan McCain.
Correct. One of Sonny's favorite hobbies, apiculture, refers to the maintaining of what species?
Bees.
Correct. The NBC Page program started the careers of Regis Philbin, Aubrey Plaza, and which View co-host?
Sarah Haynes.
You better have gotten that right. Correct. Due to the Sandinista Revolution, Anna Navarro moved to the United States in 1980 from what Central American country?
Nicaragua.
Correct. Which 80s heartthrob and former NRA board member was The View's very first guest?
Wow. Julian Lawrence.
Gotcha.
Oh! Tom Selleck.
We gotcha.
But Ken, you got 9 right. I'm really impressed with you right now.
So close, Sarah.
So you don't get to leave here with the title of View Trivia Goat, but that's all right because your other goat status still holds true. It takes nothing away from that.
I guess my beef with Tom Selleck
That's extraordinary.
Yes.
Yes, it does. Listen, Ken Jennings, thank you for coming and hanging with us today. You can catch him hosting Jeopardy tonight, and The Chase airs Thursdays at 9 p.m. right here on ABC. And we, of course, we'll be right back.
View your deal for the self-care we all need right now. We partnered with vendors for half off health and wellness products that'll soothe your body and soul. Next.
We are living in stressful times these days, and self-care is vital, which is why we partner with vendors for at least half off the health and wellness products we all need right now. But it's only while supplies last, so let's get shopping with our dear friend, Greta Monahan.
So good to see you. Happy New Year. Hug. Distance hug. So excited to kick this off with you. Withings Body Scale I have. Wi-Fi Smart Sale that I am absolutely in love with. This is for weight and full body composition, such as BMI, total body fat, muscle, bone mass, and even tracks water percentage.
The water thing is huge.
Yes,
I love that.
It's great. The data actually automatically syncs up with the free app download, where you can see your progress, set goals. There's also a pregnancy tracker and baby mode to accurately weigh the smallest member of your family. Just saying, Sarah, just
That's
saying.
cute, though. I never would have thought of that. I hope my scale doesn't reveal that. Okay. Now, I see these headbands
Yes.
that you have up next, but these are audio headbands?
Oh, they're amazing. It's called Hoom Band, and it's a comfortable audio headband that can be used for meditation, sleep, or even on the go, basically for anything. Ultra-thin built-in speakers are great for side sleepers, or anyone like me who just doesn't like the feel of earplugs.
Over time, it starts to ache.
Absolutely. Also, this works like normal headphones. You can even wear it to work out and syncs with any mobile device that has Bluetooth capabilities.
Oh, I love that.
So easy, so great. Now, Dodo.
What's that?
Calm a busy mind and fall asleep faster with Dodo. I know it looks simple, but it works. This is a rhythmic light beam that's projected onto your dark ceiling and gently synchronizes your breathing to lull you into a deep, restful sleep.